Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1961 WAR5 project, and we have draft results for the teams where we get to look at the cards. So we're just going to go right into it. We'll begin the first team that, of course, in modern times is the Texas Rangers, was the Washington Senators. They had the Washington in the first pick in the draft. They and the KCAs were head and shoulders the worst two teams in baseball. And when we look at the value chart here, it starts at the top with the highest WAR player, and it goes all the way down to the negative WAR players. So Dick Donovan and Benny Daniels were the two best players. And Dick Donovan's a nice pitcher here. He's also good in 56, we would find out. A 2.40 ERA in 169 innings. And Benny Daniels, starter 7, also a very good pitcher. So they have two good pitchers. And then from there, it's a drop-off in talent to 13, 10, 8, 7, 6, $5 players after that. And Danny O'Connell is $13, and Jim King is their $10 player, and beyond that, it gets much worse. Interesting, Woodling is in single digits, yet he hits 313. So what's holding the WAR value down maybe is the number of plate appearances is lower, and the defense is bad, and the position he's playing normally has more power, but though he still did hit 10 home runs. So I'm not sure. That's a lot to lay on this bad defense as to why his WAR value, you see, is just $8. So he's a pretty good $8 player. You're going to find that in the WAR5 project. Players, strat cards you look at and think are pretty good might be cheap. And guys might be expensive, and you look at their card and you're not impressed. And that's the dilemma that we find in using WAR5 to create a value system for our league. Next up, the KC Athletics, or Oakland Athletics. They have Jim Archer as their best player. Jim Archer are $19, and then 3, 14, 13, and $12 players. And 3 negative WAR guys at the bottom. So Archer's a starter 7 lefty who's pretty good. The only thing he doesn't do is pitch on 3 days. Well, he does pitch on 3 days rest. So he had a losing record on a bad team, but he was a good pitcher. So that'll always translate. You have Dick Hauser, a nice 2 at shortstop, good bat handler here. He's worth the value there, 280 hitter. Jerry Lumpy is double play combo. He can hit pretty well also, 293. Norm Seaburn forms 3/4 of the infield. And then let's go look at the bottom just to see what we have at negative WAR. Bill Kunkel and Leo Posada is negative WAR. So you probably ask, well, why is Leo Posada at negative WAR? I mean, he's playing about half the time, hitting 253, but again, it's the position he's playing is very poor defensively, and you want more production than that. So they really ding out. If you're not a star outfielder, you really do get dinged in WAR. Obviously, there were a lot of replacements who can put up numbers, is the thought. Next up, the Angels. So this is the first time they exist, and their best player would have been Ken McBride, Albie Pearson, Tom Morgan, Ted Bousfield. They have about 6 guys in double digits. Here's McBride, a starter 7. So a 3.64 ERA in 242 innings for a first year of a team's existence. You'd definitely take that. 12-15, that's respectable. 1-loss record. Again, this team debuted better than the Athletics and the Senators, and for most of their recent existence in this part of their timeline. Albie Pearson's an on-base machine. 96 walks here, hitting 288, so they love that. Plus a rangy 2 outfielder. You have Tom Morgan, a reliever. And a lefty, Ted Bousfield. So we're seeing like the bottom feeding teams of the league, but we're seeing some nice players on them. They're not going to be particularly deep, you would think. And next up is the Twins, who actually, as the two expansion teams, Angels and Twins, Twins have a lot more players who are going to stick around and be part of the 65 World Series team. Hard to believe, right? 5 years into their existence. So Jack Kralik is a $30 pitcher. Harmon Killebrew, Camilo Pascual, Earl Batty, Allison. You see Jim Cotton there, Versailles. So you see some members of that 65 team. This is a $30 pitcher, and this is an example of what I think is a little too expensive. He's 13-11 with a 3.61 ERA and 242 innings. I don't get it. He's more expensive than Whitey Ford. I don't get that either, but there you go. And when we get to Whitey Ford, we'll look at that analysis, I guess. Harmon Killebrew, he's doing his typical thing. Immediately he does it for the Twins here. Look at this destruction again of lefties here. First and third. 46 home runs at the beginning of the decade. He'll be hitting 48 at the end of the decade. Harmon Killebrew, what an incredible... The first star of the Minnesota Twins. Camilo Pascual, nice starter 8 here. You might even argue he's better than Kralik. Earl Batty, a nice catcher, the -3 arm. Average in power, what's not to like? One of the best catchers in baseball, Earl Batty. And Bob Allison, a nice slugging outfielder with some good defense out there. Homers and walks, nice card for him. All right. Next up will be the Red Sox. So the Red Sox, the dubious distinction is they're better than two expansion teams, and they're better than the Athletics and the Senators, who are notoriously awful throughout most of their tenure. So that's not a big bar for Boston to get over. And Boston's in kind of a rut here as well. Ted Williams is now gone, of course. Yastrzemski is a negative WAR player. We'll look at his card. So you're at the Bill Monbouquet, Don Schwal, Chuck, hardly superstars in the pantheon of Red Sox players. There's their best pitcher, Monbouquet, with a 3.39 ERA. This guy's the Rookie of the Year. I don't know how long he's a productive pitcher. I don't recall him. But 15-7, 322. And let's take a look at Yastrzemski. So why is he negative WAR? Plays a full season, but his hit's just 266 with just 11 home runs. So obviously he's got good defense. He doesn't walk a lot, and he doesn't hit for a lot of power, and that is going to penalize him, apparently, to negative value. A negative 1.5. Tough break for... But that's Boston's gain, because they'll select Jazz, of course, but it means that they'll have more money to spend on other players, so that's the value with that. Next up is Cleveland. 56, Cleveland had all the pitching, and the 61 version, not as much pitching up top, as now they have some sticks. Pearsall, Romano, Held, Francona, and then there's Mudcat Grant. Then there's a bunch of guys in the middle and some negative WAR. Pearsall is very nice, though, a 1-4 in center field. Not a lot of power, but still a star, hitting 322. Interesting, comparing him to Yastrzemski, and you see the gap. $24 for Pearsall, -1 for Yaz. I guess Pearsall plays center, does it even better than Yaz does left field. And Pearsall hits about 60 points higher in average, even though he hits fewer homers. John Romano, the catcher, is pretty good. You have a shortstop, Woody Held, with power. Plenty of power out of shortstop. That's nice. 23 dingers from your shortstop. You gotta love that. That should really boost the WAR. Apparently, if he was a 1 or 2 shortstop, he probably would have been in the $20 figure. Tito Francona, nice corner outfielder with average, 301. And there's Mudcat Grant. So the first pitcher might be joining lefty Early Win, Herb Score, and Bob Lemon on from that 56 squad. Boy, that'd be amazing. Mudcat Grant, 1509, 386. All right. Next up, we have the White Sox. White Sox did pretty well. They were in 4th in the American League. Let's go check them out. Oh, there, let me get their value card out. We have Pizarro, Landis, Severs, Aparicio, Sherm Lawler, Early Win. Early Win, his Cleveland card in 56 would probably be put into a bigger league before this Win card does, as he's not as nearly as good. Lawler can still throw. We'll take a look at that. So here's Pizarro, a lefty starter, 8. Nice. 3.05 ERA, 195 innings. Jim Landis, you got a 1-1 ace steal and center fielder with power both ways and walks. Nice card for him. He's worth it. 283. First baseman Roy Severs, power and walks there. 295, 27 bombs. You got Aparicio at AA, a 1E31. That's a lot of errors, but we'll take the oneness at short, the AA. And the bat, power versus lefties. Louis, it's 272 with 670 plate appearances. Lawler's got a -2 arm. I think he had a -3 arm in 56, but nice everyday catcher. Father of Tim Lawler. 282. And there's Early Win. Cleveland's or the White Sox property now used to be Cleveland's property. Pitched better for Cleveland. Minoso had a better year in 56. Probably was his best. He's still decent here at 280. All right. Next up, Baltimore. Baltimore, they've moved from St. Louis and won 95 games already. 54, they moved to Baltimore from the St. Louis Browns. That would be their first year. And they have some nice bats. The pitching's not here yet. Jim Gentile gets a Hall of Fame or an MVP. He's in the top 5 in MVP voting. Billy Heft's a heck of a lefty starter. Jackie Brandt in the outfield. Then you got Brooks Robinson, Hoyt Wilhelm in the bullpen. Ron Hansen, Jerry Adair in the infield. Gus Triandis is the catcher. That is a lot of functional, foundational Oriole players who will get to the 66 series. Gentile doesn't make it there, though. This is an amazing card. Probably the first star of Baltimore, before Brooks. Jim Gentile. What a ridiculous card here. 302 with 46 home runs. He had that record for the longest time. Baltimore's all-time home run leader. And I think Brady Anderson hit 50 home runs to break the record. And then later it was broken again by Chris Davis. So at one point Jim Gentile had that record. Billy Heft, starter 8. Heck of a card, 2.02 ERA. Jackie Brandt in the outfield was center fielder, 2 -3 arm, and he can hit pretty well. Here's Brooksy, a 1/3 baseman. Hitting 287, 7 home runs, 38 doubles. A 1E14. You got Hoyt Wilhelm in the bullpen. And your double play combination is Ron Hansen, Jerry Adair. Gus Triandis is the catcher. So they had the offense here. They just needed to get more pitching. They had a couple nice pitchers, but they needed to get more pitching to get into that 66 series. All right, next up, last two teams in the American League, Detroit, and then the Yankees, and then we'll call it a wrap. I know you're patiently waiting for Maris at the very end, and we'll see him. But before then, Tigers have a real high and low spending on this team. Look at the bats at the top. Cash, Kaline, Colavado in the 40s, 38s. Frank Larry, a $22 starter. Foytak, a $6 starter. Maxwell is really good in 56, not so much anymore. McAuliffe is on the World Series team later on. They took a lot of negative WAR value players just to make payroll fit. They had 2 Hall of Fame exemptions used for Cash and Kaline. So here's Cash, a 3E12. We saw Gentile. And Cash has a 361 average. I think Gentile at 302. So I think you have Mantle, Maris, Cash, and Gentile are your top 4 MVP in the American League. What an amazing card for Cash. He's a B stealer, folks. And he's a 3 at first base. Heck of a card for Norm Cash. And Al Kaline's like, hey, not so fast. What about me? What about me? I'm a 1-4 E4. I'm a B stealer. Doesn't have the power, of course, but he's got a 324 average. The great Al Kaline. Wow. And Colavado used to be for Cleveland. Now he's with Detroit. Defense much better than it was with Cleveland. And the offense is even better because he's got the homers, but he's also got the walks and the batting average. He's got it all. 290 with 113 walks and 45 bombs. What a card what a top 3. And I'll tell you, I don't know if the Yankees' top 3 is as good. And they paid for it, folks, because once you get past their top pitcher, Larry, who's a starter 9, makes sense. And Foytak's still good. He's not amazing, but he's good. He's got a 3.92 ERA. It really drops in talent because of how expensive those top 3 guys are. Let's stick a pin in that as we look at the Yankees and tell me, do you want Cash, Kaline, and Colavado, or do you want what the Yankees are going to present? I think you'll still like the Yankees, though. That's my prediction. All right. So Mantle's still more than $50. He was $56 and 56, I think. He's 52.5. Maris 38. Elson Howard's 26.5, but he plays catcher, and you have Whitey Ford. You managed to still fit Bill Scowron on this team. He didn't make the 56 team because they ran out of money, and then you took a lot of negative money beyond that. So it's a 5-man team pretty much. By the way, Mantle's now a 1 in center. He hits more homers here than he did in 56 when he was the highest paid player on that team. 317 with 126 walks. That is just ridiculous. Hate missing that single 1 of 5 there. But again, B Steelers. What is it with these guys? They're all B Steelers. Cash, Kaline, Mantle. All right, here he is, Roger Maris. 61 home runs. It's the 1-7-10 template. It's the only 1-7-10 template has all homers there. And for our amusement, there's a homer 1, fly ball the rest on 2-7, just to, you'll roll that all year long, right? And be really ticked off. And hardly roll 1-7s. That would really be an off year for the Maris card here. Good defense as well. 2-3. The third guy is this guy, Howard, and this is the killer, though. This is why I would take these 3 guys over the Tigers 3. Elson Howard, a -4 arm catcher who leads the club in hitting, and this is why Yogi Berra is no longer here. He was taken by one of the expansion teams, believe it or not. 348, 21 home runs out of Elson Howard, a -4 catcher. Completely controls the running game of your opponent. There's no one's going to attempt to steal off him. What an amazing card for, it's on the short list of -4 catchers. You got Bench and you have Howard with, Hall of Fame worthy cards like this. Whitey Ford, starter 7. Don't know why he is so much cheaper than, well, we saw a couple of names, right? Whitey Ford. He can be yours for $18.50. We saw Jack Kralik, right? $30 pitcher. I think we saw another $25.50 pitcher. Whitey Ford, $18.50. What's wrong with him? He's a starter 7. He's a lefty. He only won 25 games. He was 21 games over 500. 3.21 ERA. I don't get it. So this kind of shows you some of the dubious information you get with WAR. And it helps the Yankees. It helped them get Bill Skowron on the team, frankly. I didn't think they would be able to afford a 4th hitter, but they did. So Skowron is not a free agent here like he was in 56, 28 home runs. Gil McDougall, Tony Kubek, Billy Martin, Yogi Berra, they're gone. They can't afford those guys. They did afford, here was a cheap guy, way down here at the bottom. There he is, Bobby Richardson, the new second baseman in town. Check it out. Negative $3.50. So that helps you out. That's a $3.50 coupon. Bobby Richardson. Oh, he's a 1/18 second baseman. That must be a bad thing. I guess it's just because he doesn't hit or have. He's not a liability. He's a 261 hitting second baseman. He only has 30 walks and just 3 home runs. But he still hits 261, and he's a 1 at second. So, yeah. Whitey Ford and Bobby Richardson together are $15 for both combined. Or $37 cheaper than Mickey Mantle. So, that's what we got. I think this Yankee team of 61, as far as the guys they were able to keep, look deeper than the 56 Yankees, who, again, they had to pay a lot for Mantle. $55 made up most of their payroll. Does it again. That's it for the American League results. Next week, we'll do the National League. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you then.